Welcome to Ladies in Law, where real-world advice meets professional wisdom and empowerment in realms of law and business. Your hosts, Lisa Goucher, Dawn Smith, and Kellye Raymond, bring you innovative strategies, practical guidance, and inspirational stories. Join us as we inspire and support women to thrive in traditionally male-dominated fields. We're here to promote inclusivity and provide practical advice for success. Hi, Lisa Goucher here with Dawn, and I have an amazing guest. I've known Katie Stepp with Dean and Stepp Law Firm here in Dallas for, almost 20 years. We were just talking about that. And Katie and I go way back from the very early legal days, and we met at a conference, a Defense Research Institute asbestos conference. Doesn't that sound sexy? But ever since then, Katie has really been truly inspiring. And I just have to say, she always shows up. There were different things in my court reporting firm that happened over the course of time, and Katie and her partner, Greg, always showed up. They were always a force within my business and always there. And so today I want to talk to Katie about work-life integration, showing up, consistency, mentoring. I mean, she really does a lot of things. So Katie?
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're really excited.
I really appreciate that introduction.
All right, Katie, let's talk about today, and then we'll back up and how you got to today. So tell me what's going on in your firm right now. What kind of cases are you running? How are you managing that, being a busy working mom and everything that goes on in your life?
Well, we developed a commercial litigation practice starting really at my former firm, and then in January of 2020, we came up with Dean Stepp Law, and Greg and I went out on our own and took a lot of those clients with us. And at that time, we were fairly defense-oriented on our product liability and I like to call them the blood and guts kind of cases, right? But we had always done both plaintiff and defense in our commercial practices, just the nature of the beast. There's always going to be a countersuit. You're both in those types of cases. So as time has worn on, we decided we really liked that plaintiff position. And so we have
coming over to the good side.
We have started taking on many more contingency cases. We still have some very near and dear defense clients that we will never, ever do anything that would compromise that relationship, including conflicts and things of that nature, because we take care of everything for them. So I would never want to make them feel vulnerable that we're not doing, something that would hurt their business or anything like that. But the way that we have decided to kind of promote ourselves is that after I started thinking about it, I said, we're a boutique firm. I mean, we trimmed off the fat. We're down to these three fantastic lawyers, my two partners, Mary and Greg, and Greg being my founding partner with me. And now we decided, well, what are we good at? Well, we're good at being trial lawyers. We're good at helping people, whether it's people associated with an entity or individuals, navigate through a very scary time in their life. And we're good at navigating the courtroom. And those things don't really have boundaries when so far as, are you a defense practice? Are you a plaintiff's practice? And lots of the marketing teams that I've been with don't love it because they want you to be in a niche and because it's easier to market. To which I tell them, just get more creative, because the umbrella is what we're good at. And the subsidiaries are, we can do this for everybody, the things we're good at, so long as we stay within the bounds, and conflicts and are respectful of our previous relationships. So it's exciting times. It's scary, but it is very fulfilling, and we're really enjoying it. We're enjoying building that part of the practice.
So what was it like opening a firm in 2020?
It was like this: sign a 5-year lease and send everyone home for an entire year.
Terrifying.
It was terrifying, yes. And I didn't think we were going to make it. I did a lot of motivational speeches over Zoom to our team. And we were able to keep everyone and not have to lay anybody off. And we kept the doors open somehow. And so then it kind of made it all the better when we all got to come back in be a big happy family again. So,
what do you think was the spur? What was the concept of really going out on your own? Like where were you when you and Greg were together and you sat down and said, you know what, we can do this? What was the impetus of that?
Well, it's not as exciting as you would think. We had talked about it for quite some time. But when you're comfortable, it's really hard to make big changes. And we were comfortable at the firm that we were at previously. I've only been at 3 firms, including my own. The first one was a big law firm called Byrne, Manor and Parsons that is no longer around. And then, but I, earned my stripes there and got to cut my teeth on a lot of really big, fun stuff and got to learn from so many great mentors, some of whom are now practicing here in Dallas, So then 2 of the partners there, Mike Lyons and Greg Deans, decided to start a firm, and they asked me to join them. And that was in 2008. And we grew that firm up to about 16 lawyers. At one point, we even had a Houston office. And then at some point, we just kind of had different visions. And so that's what ended up happening. It was an amicable split. But because that opportunity arose, that's when we decided, okay, well, we either go back into probably big firm again, right? Go back and do not be autonomous and go back and do the things that we'd done before, which at that point seemed a little bit like a step backwards. Not that there's anything wrong with, working at a big firm. If you haven't done it, I think you need to do it at some point because that's where you do a tremendous amount of learning and growing. And it's a place where you can also make some mistakes because, you've got all these other
somebody will catch
infrastructure.
You.
Yeah.
All that support.
Right.
That's there to teach you and, and guide you through that and fix some of your mistakes when you're a baby lawyer. So it's a great place to be, but we just decided, we've been doing this on our own. Let's do it on our own again. And so we did. Of course, we did not know that COVID was coming. And I'm very glad that we did not know that because I think that would have, my husband's stay-at-home dad. Right. My husband's been a stay-at-home dad since 2009. And so, yes, that would have been breadwinner and, it's already a huge risk. Right. So I'm so glad. It was a blessing that we did everything beforehand and we were stuck. So we had to make it work.
Yeah. So that's one of the things we talk about, taking risks, right? The choice to actually take a risk and the fear of failure, going out and doing this new thing and then having to really adapt and adjust through it. How did you stay positive through that to, reassure the people that had trusted you to come and work with you? How did you lead that team through that controversy?
Well, you're assuming I stayed positive throughout that entire time. I will say it was motivating to me to see how everybody would respond if I did a very simple thing, which was, hey, once a week, we're going to have these Zoom meetings and we're going to not talk about what we're doing in our cases. We're going to talk to each other about what's going on in our lives, what everybody's afraid of, and kind of made everybody was a little bit vulnerable, and people would open up to that. And I think
you were bonding.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yes, I think that's basically what it was. Those are all things that would have happened organically had we been in an office, but they weren't, so we had to establish it and make it happen. And so there were days and weeks and hours that I was definitely not positive, and I would just let myself feel that. And then, you just gotta pick yourself back up. It helps, I think, when you are the one in charge, because you just can't fail because you're failing all these other people.
Everybody's relying on you.
Everybody's relying on you. Your family, your colleagues, your work family, they're all relying on you. And so you can't just give up. Even though I felt like I wanted to on multiple occasions, but I also had a great partner. I'm very fortunate that my husband wanted to be a stay-at-home dad. He's highly educated and could have gone on and done a million things with his career, but this was what he wanted to do. He wanted to be able to stay home and raise our kids, which of course helped me tremendously, but also then made it a little riskier and put that added pressure on me in a good way. That is, okay, you don't
have to
a
rise
choice.
to the challenge.
Yeah, you don't have a choice. You just you well, you do. You can fail, and you might fail.
You might,
but what do you do with it after that? So,
Well, you and I have that in common as far as, because my husband became the stay-at-home dad when my travels picked up. Yeah. It wasn't something that he was necessarily ever thinking that he would do, but when it came down to it, it's really challenging to raise kids successfully when both parents are off and going and doing. So many people do it, but we made the same choice as you. So Steve was the stay-at-home dad doing all of those things, and that was our partnership. And so that furthers the family that way. And you've had a similar experience. And so your kids, Piper's 12, Gus is 17. Yes,
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Wow.
Happy birthday. So, how do you envision, like, as the kids continue to grow and graduate and go on to college, Will you just stay right there where you're living? Will you guys change what are you thinking for your future?
crystal ball here.
Yeah,
I know. We go back and forth. There is a big part of us that we live east of Dallas, about 25 miles from my office. And so, which is right here in the area that we're filming. So your office, actually. Yes, your office.
Your
building.
office too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a whole different lifestyle, right? We live on acreage and it's country life and it's tiny town. I love Dallas. I love it. I moved out there because my husband wanted land, asked me what we do with it. Nothing. We just own land. And that's what you do with it, I guess. I don't know. So
It's pretty. You look at it.
I know.
Do you have any cows or anything?
No, we
cows?
have chickens and ducks.
Okay, there you go.
but only for about a 6-month flow because the predators, man. It's a hard life. Hard life out there for the chickens and ducks. But we do have dogs, cats, all the things. So, and sometimes we'll have not usually. I guess we've kept chickens for about a year because we did get our own eggs for a long time, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we have said, oh gosh, wouldn't it be cool if we were downtown Dallas? I mean, just completely change it all, downsize, do all that stuff. But we haven't made any actual choices yet.
Yeah, you don't have to yet.
Yeah, I got to get my kids into college first. And so then maybe I can make some of those decisions.
It's a big step going through that process, trying to decide where they're going to go and all of those applications and all that. That's very challenging. So good luck. You got it.
Thank you.
One thing we were talking about before is in what I was just really thinking about and I'm really curious about is when you talked about leading your team, right, through COVID and building a firm, showing up is so important, right? Showing up every day to make sure that everybody knows that you're creating the stability, that you can get through anything. What do you think in your background or your history, what built that in you to where you felt like you could survive and go forward and show up no matter how hard it got?
Well, I was a high school dropout. I got my GED when I was 17 years old, about to be 18. And I was just having a difficult time in school. And I fortunately had parents who paid attention to that. And I was having socially a difficult time. So when I got out of recovery and came back into my very small little high school, I had just outgrown it. I couldn't be there and be healthy. And so I decided I've just got to get out of here. So I immediately got my GED and I immediately enrolled in junior college. And I was a little clueless about what I was going to do. And I got married during that time, which, also seemed a little nuts. And it would be if we hadn't been married 28 years by now. But I persevered through just kind of this unknown, what's going to happen, the years of Patrick and I laugh that, when we got together, he was a soldier and not a high ranking one. And I, was going to junior college in Killeen, Texas, after dropping out of high school. So we made sort of a, not a very impressive pair at that point. And, making a combined total of like $500 a month and paying rent and paycheck to paycheck. And, eating at Taco Bell was exciting and eating out. And I know, right? So it was, coming from that and being able to get through it. Again, it always helps when you've got cheerleaders by your side. And Patrick is such a positive influence in my life that, we fortunately usually aren't down at the same time. And Greg and I aren't either, and my law partner. I fear the day that we both are down in the dumps. Yeah, at the same time, I can't pull the other one back up, but hasn't happened yet. So after we decided that he was gonna go ahead and stay in the military so that he could get the college money. He was a first generation person to attend college in his family, so he wanted to get that college money, and so we stayed in. We enlisted. We got sent to Hawaii, just out of pure luck.
Okay, wow, that's good. That's a really we like that.
Yes, that was a great experience, and fortunately for me, I had gotten a job with Central Texas College, which is where I enrolled right after I got my GED, and they had a Central Texas College extended branch in Hawaii that mentors to the military. So I got to keep my job and became a registrar there, and that enabled me to then continue on with my college pursuits and actually get my bachelor's degree without any debt, because I was plugged into the college system in Hawaii. So even though I went to Chaminade University of Honolulu for my bachelor's degree, I got the discount as if I was working at Chaminade because of the way that the schools plugged in together. It was just lucky. And so I was able to come out of college without debt. And it just sort of seemed like anything is possible at that point, because I just didn't know that I would be able to do it. And I don't even know to this day where I got the energy or the positivity to do it. Living in Hawaii helped, of course, because beautiful and sunny. And
I would think so.
Yes, great environment. And
so what made you want to go to law school? How did that come about?
Well, once I realized, oh my gosh, I finished it. I'm out of college, and I somehow did it without debt. And and I've made all these great relationships, and, couldn't I keep doing it? Why couldn't I keep doing it? I'll have to take out loans. I'll have to do this. I'll have to do that. But maybe I should just try it. I'd always thought about it. But again, I'd never been around lawyers my whole life. My family are a very noble profession, but most of them school teachers. And so I didn't really have an infrastructure where I ever thought that was possible. And I think when it became possible, because of the other steps that I'd taken, I just realized, okay, well, I can take risks now and I can do this. And so I did. And it was the best thing that I ever did. And even how I ended up at SMU, which ended up being sort of a fluke. I was sort of scheduled to go to NYU. And then my husband ended up getting a too good to be true job, which, too good to be true, meaning I'm foreshadowing what happened. But so we moved to Dallas instead, and I started SMU. And he loses that job after that, because it was when the tech industry crashed. And so he had been doing what we call Signal, which is kind of the IT type stuff and connections between communications people and the military. He was doing that for civilian, but it wasn't taking in the world. And so, but I was already here. I'd already moved here. The military will move you once for free, and that is it. So we were one and done. And we stayed, but I have made a tremendous amount of relationships because of SMU and ended up staying in Dallas. And it was a lot smaller college than what I was originally going to go do. And I love that. I still have some of the very best relationships of my life from that experience. And in fact, our 20-year reunion is coming up on Friday. So yeah, tomorrow. All right. I know. So yeah, that's kind of how it wasn't super exciting. I didn't have any run-ins with the law or or anything like that made me decide, but it was just possibilities, and And so, once you realize you can do hard things, it's easier to do hard things.
That's right. And harder things.
Well, and I also think that there's some blessing or silver lining, like in being naive, right?
Oh,
like what you don't know. So you're just going to head out and make it happen. And the possibilities are endless. And the thing I hear from you, Katie, is that like wherever you were, you knew you weren't staying there. Like you knew there was a next thing, a next place, a next, I don't know if you call them goals. I mean, when I was growing up, I don't really even remember using the word goals. It's just, I just knew I wasn't going to stay where I was. And so you were the same. You didn't have the lawyer profession in your family to influence you. So I find it really interesting that you ended up in that profession.
Yeah, it is. And you're right. I didn't have that. I did have really strong family ties though. And my parents were both extremely hard workers. They're retired now from teaching, and my dad was a principal for years. But I saw them come home and make their own books, for their students because there was no money in the public school system where they were working. My mom worked at a 90% free lunch school district. So I saw her bend over backwards for those things. And so, I came, even though I didn't have the infrastructure of, oh, this is what you should do to get prepared to be a lawyer, because they really couldn't help me with that. But I knew that if you work hard and you focus, that you're going to get somewhere, And so, but it's funny. I remember the day when I started at Byrne Manor and I was a baby lawyer, and you know how you go to, when you're a baby lawyer and everything is so scary and you're just freaking out, like you don't know how to do anything. And my mom and I have such a close relationship. I remember calling her one day, maybe my 4th or 5th day of work. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. What do you think I ought to do? Here's what's happening. And she goes, oh, you're past the point where I can help you now. And I was like, oh no. It's terrifying. I was like, don't say that, Mom. But yeah, she was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So.
I love that.
So you honestly, like you come from a family with a servant's heart and just helping the community and making a difference. And so I want you to speak to like your mentorship that you're doing now and your story that you're sharing with others. Talk about that, because that's huge.
Yeah, I found myself in a unique position because I'm the only lawyer in our family, that my stepmother is a counselor, and this is how I got one of my mentees. She's a counselor. She was at a high school, now she's at elementary school, but through that experience, she has sent me people over the years who also were in my same position, don't have any lawyers, don't know any lawyers, but have this crazy idea that they want to go to law school, but it just seems impossible. And so she'll send them my way. And I'm currently mentoring someone now who I just love. I just helped her with her personal statement and, just giving her advice on that and for applying for law school. And I have a couple of others that I'm mentoring who are also family members. They would also be first generation lawyers. Just through other people sending them to me is how I've done it. Also, through Barb and that kind of thing. But these relationships were really special because they came to me before they even got started and all of that. Because they're they're on the quavering, is that a word? They're on the brink of maybe I shouldn't do this. It's real easy to talk yourself out of the scary thing. So, and it's a lot of money. I mean, I thought it was a lot of money when I went to school. So I can only imagine now, and so, you truly are investing in yourself when you decide to do any kind of fulfilling degree, that you're going up against. And so I love being able to help them and figure out ways that their past helps them in their legal career, which is what people help me do too. Because I never clerked at a law firm when I was in high school. In fact, I thought I was going to be a concert pianist. And so I was a piano player and that was what I did. So music was my thing. But then I realized, but I do know how to get up on stage in front of people. I can do that all the time. That's similar to some of the things you got to do as a lawyer. So I help them kind of make those connections. One girl in particular now always thought she would just be a theater major, but I don't mean it that way. I mean, she just assumed because I've done theater my whole life, that's what I'll major in, and then I'll try to do acting, which
It's
very difficult
hard
as
choice.
well,
Yeah.
right? A very hard choice. And so she said, I've been thinking about this law thing, and I think I've been thinking about being a litigator, and I know that that's what you do, but I mean, nobody's going to accept me in law school. I have nothing in my background that will make me, look good on paper. And that is just not true. So we sat down and brainstormed, and I said, so when you go and try to get a role, describe that process to me. Well, I work really hard. I memorize the lines. I go and I interview in front of people. And then I also have to act out whatever it is I did. And I was like, okay,
Exactly.
that's what
like
lawyers do.
Being a trial lawyer, right? Exactly.
You connected the dots for her.
Right. And a light went off. She's like, oh my gosh, you're right. I was like, so actually your skill set is perfect for this, because you have to work hard, you have to persevere, you have to be able to perform when the time is right, and you have to be able to get over those jitters, which everybody has, even if they lie and say they don't. And you do that. You know how to do that. So now she is off to the races. So
So she's already in law school?
well, she's applying, but I have a lot of confidence. She did get her LSAT scores back, and they were good. So I'm hoping that, fingers crossed for her.
That's great. That's great. Kind of along those lines about being a trial lawyer, one of the things that you said earlier that really is kind of compelling to me is that, you do a lot of different things, but you specialize in going to trial. That's kind of your niche area, is being a trial lawyer and being a litigator in court. What is it that you love the most about going to trial and being in court? Why is that one of your passions?
Well, I love I love the idea of working so hard, and we all work so hard for everything. But when you package it all up and then you get your day or your week or however long, it's going to take, I love the feeling of being able to tell someone who is 1,000 times more nervous and their either livelihood or their life on the line, and their finances on the line, their company on the line, and being able to say, I've got this, and feel it. So I'm a big, I am not one of those not prepared, I'm going to just go in and wing it. I don't do that because one of the ways that I get over my own fears, because it is scary, because we're up against formidable opponents all the time. I mean, some of my opposing counsels I learn the most from because they're, great lawyers. But one of the ways that I get over that is I just have to be as prepared as I possibly can be.
Preparation. We talk about that all the time. Yeah. I mean, going in and making sure that you know the case better than everybody else. It just makes you feel better. Even if you're scared, even if you're worried, even if you're nervous, if you can go in there and you know everything, if you can go in and know you're just laying it out all on the table, then that just gives you a little bit of comfort.
Yeah. Then there's not nearly as much second guessing on your own when whatever happens, whatever the outcome is. You're like, I did the very best I could, and you can look in the mirror and say that, and that's good. And I did criminal clinic when I was at SMU, which was a hugely beneficial thing to do. And I would advise every law student to do it, whether you want to go into litigation or criminal or not, just because in the criminal clinic, you actually got into the courtroom. You had a student bar card, and you had your leader who had a bar card, and ours was Mike McCullum. Shout out to Mike McCullum, who's still one of my very dear friends and mentors. And he always taught me when we would prepare for our upcoming trials. I'd be doing a voir dire or whatever. He'd be helping with that. He would record you, which is so uncomfortable, make you do everything, record it, and then listen back and critique you on it. It's very uncomfortable, but very good way to do it. And he always told me, typically, it's not always the case, but typically the most prepared person is going to win. So you be that person. And so that's what we strive at our firm to do.
Take it to heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, our clients deserve that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they are putting a lot of faith in you when they come to you. It's probably their most vulnerable time in their lives, whether you're on the defense or the plaintiff side, And so, and whether it's a company, I mean, I represent one company who has been sued multiple times, and I won't name the company, but it's a smaller company in the grand scheme of things, but it's run intimately by their family. So every single lawsuit, no matter how many times you've been through that process, super personal and super scary, because this is her legacy that she wants to leave to her children. And if that is threatened, that is hurtful to her and just terrifying, really. So, sometimes they just don't even get used to that. I mean, even some of the bigger corporations I work with who have in-house counsel, and I work with them directly, I mean, they still are trusting you to navigate that system for them, right? And fortunately, in some of these companies that I've worked with, and their in-house counsel is just so good that it's just a blessing to have somebody like that there that you can bounce these ideas off of. But they still are counting on you to know what you're doing and to be ready. And so that's what we strive to do. And I grew up doing that. I mean, I was a classical pianist, and the one time I can remember really making a mess of a situation is when I was 12 years old.
Oh gosh.
And
we all have one of those 12-year-old memories.
Oh my gosh. It was terrible, but it taught me a lot of lessons in my life even today. I was 12. I just won this huge state competition. I'd played these classical pieces. You did basically a recital and had to compete against all these very accomplished pianists. I was one of the youngest, and I won. I won the whole thing. I mean, so then there's a big recital for all the runners up and the people who participated, for the families and the teachers. Like my piano teacher was there, obviously, and but I'm the star of the show because I won. So I go last, and it was on a Saturday evening, and that entire day I was playing 3 classical pieces of the recital I'd put on. It's all by memory, but I performed those pieces for the last 2 years, So I rested on my laurels, and my mom, I remember her saying, "Aren't you going to practice? Shouldn't you run through your songs at least once? Shouldn't you play through them?" I mean, running through my songs took 30 minutes, and I was like, I don't have that kind of time, I'm sitting here doing nothing.
I'm 12.
Right, I'm 12. I'm 12. And so I didn't do it. I thought I knew those songs like the back of my hand. I get up on that stage, and the rule that my piano teacher always told me is the audience will give you three times. And I start to play, big grand piano up the stairs, bow, sit down. I'm last. Everyone else is gone and performed flawlessly. I start to play my first song, and about measure 4, just out the window. And just a blank slate in my mind. So take my hands down. Okay, try number 2. Start again, same spot. Try number 3, same spot. And then I had to get up and bow and sit down.
Oh my God.
And
what
then
a
about
lesson.
5 minutes later, I had to get up and accept the award.
Oh.
And I was in tears. It was just the most humiliating thing that had ever happened to me. And what I learned from that is you can never be too prepared. And those times, be wary that you think you got it. Maybe you're missing something.
Look at it one more time.
Look at it one more time. Right.
What
right.
a life lesson at the age of 12. I mean, it's a lesson right now just listening to you talk about it.
I have a trial on Monday. I'm like, I'm going to look at that stuff again.
I know, right? Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. This has been absolutely wonderful. Katie, you are just so near and dear to my heart. I am so thankful that you took the time to come over and visit with us. Like, you are truly just a force.
Well,
so thank you.
My honors. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Ladies in Law. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to shake things up in law and business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let us know what you think. Spread the word and share this podcast with your network. Follow us on socials for all the behind-the-scenes fun and sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. Until next time, keep rocking it, keep breaking the mold, and as always, keep aspiring to inspire.